Hello everyone and welcome to another video. Now these days you won't find graphics card manufacturers producing 512MB GPUs anymore, because apparently they wouldn't be capable of running newer titles, but I bet if it wasn't for the DirectX limitations, I'm sure some of the older cards that were released years ago would probably be able to handle a few modern games, even if they could just scrape 30 FPS. The last of the 512MB cards were released sometime around early 2012 as OEM, meaning that they were already part of a system and weren't shipped to retailers for resale individually. If you look on eBay, you can find cards like the HD 7350 or 7450 that have been ripped out of systems somewhere along the way and resold. But they are essentially rebranded versions of the card that you've always been able to buy individually, the 512MB HD 6450 from AMD. So that's the card we're going to be taking a look at today. Now this card came in all sorts of variants: low profile, passive, OEM, and it also came with a choice of memory options: 512MB, 1GB and 2GB, with the 512 version being the version that we're looking at today, of course. Furthermore, the Sapphire version is likely the best 512MB card, as it's the only one that features GDDR5 memory instead of DDR3, but it's likely any differences would have been negligible, as this thing wasn't very powerful. Sorry for any spoilers. So the 6450 uses just 18 watts of power and requires a 300 watt power supply with no external connectors. It was designed as a cheap alternative to onboard graphics, or if you had a system with no graphics at all, and would probably make an ideal piece of hardware for a Netflix or streaming build. But that's no fun. So we're going to be checking out its gaming performance. Luckily, this thing supports DX11 too, so we can put even the newest titles to the test. We're using our G3258 clocked at 4.2 GHz, as well as 8GB of RAM here, and Windows 10 Pro. So let's get into some tests. Crysis 3 first, and we have the game on low settings with 1024 by 768 resolution and any form of anti-aliasing disabled, of course. And we are achieving about 12 frames per second. We did test this game in different levels too to try and get an idea of the best performance here, but 12 frames per second seemed to be the average throughout. But Crysis 3 was probably a long shot anyway. GTA 5 next, with everything turned down to the absolute minimum yet again, and 1024 by 768 resolution. Now we've got slightly better performance here with a surprising 25 frames per second, even downtown. I've always had generally positive experiences with GTA 5's optimization, and it seems as though it's really coping quite well here, considering the hardware. Let's try Fallout 4. It's the same story as Crysis 3 really, with the low preset enabled and 1280 by 720 resolution with around 12 to 15 frames per second. You can expect a few sharp frame drops here as well. Actually, when I say a few, I mean lots, and it seems as though performance is the same no matter whereabouts you are in the game. Venturing into Diamond City definitely isn't a good idea though, so maybe the old Fallout 3 will do better. And it definitely does. We're running on full HD resolution here with the high preset enabled and seeing a return of 40 to 50 FPS, which is a welcome change. In fact, most games from around this era can be expected to run fairly well, which may seem obvious, but let's not forget that this card was considered low-end even when it came out 4 years ago, so expecting it to hold up today is probably a bit too much to ask. It's nice to see that if older games are more your thing, then a card like this wouldn't do too badly if you had it in your system. I just wouldn't recommend buying one if you didn't have it already, because at a cost of around $30 to $40 or pounds, you could probably find something with more power, either from the same time or a little bit newer, and for a little bit more money, you'd probably get something that would give you even more performance and grant you a better gaming experience overall. Despite this being the last 512MB GPU you could actually buy that wasn't OEM, and even still buy new today from a few companies, it is easily outperformed by those half-gig cards that, although don't support DX11, would easily outdo this thing in the older titles. It's a shame that the 512MB era didn't really go out with a bang, but I hope you guys enjoyed this video nonetheless. So thank you all so much for watching. Leave a like if you enjoyed the video, leave a dislike if you didn't, subscribe to the channel if you haven't done so already, follow me on Twitter too if you like, at RGInHD, and hopefully I'll see all of you in the next one. I've also got something in the works for the 50,000 subscriber special, but it's going to take a little bit more work before it's quite done for you guys. So as always, thanks again, and hopefully I'll see you all soon.